bit of a funky site. It's on a busier road.
Does it make you want to dance? Or?
Yeah, it does make me dance. I do like my subdivisions, mate. Everyone tries to do what we've done in 10 years and 2 years sometimes, and that's where things can go wrong because you can get in a lot of trouble in this game as well if you buy the wrong site.
I've had 3 quotes for evaluation and I've just gone with the cheapest and it's burnt me big time.
Before you do anything, find out what your deal box is. What do you actually want to do? Your town planner is your best friend. They're the cheapest consultant you'll ever buy.
It's the deals you walk away from maybe that can make such a big difference.
But yeah, 100%. I don't want someone that's just had blue skies. I want to learn from their lessons so I don't have to go through the pain of learning,
What's your process to actually go through with that?
What we tell people to do is
Hi, I'm Andrew Wright, Principal of Professional Southport, and this is the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. I've built a multi-million-dollar property portfolio, delivering a 7-figure annual rental income, and led my real estate team through thousands of sale and lease transactions. In each episode, I share real deals and strategies that will help you find, fund, and operate profitable property deals. The aim of this show is to provide education and build a community of like-minded investors who can collaborate, share insights, and help each other in each other's journeys. You can make excuses or you can make money, but you can't do both. So come and join us. Hello there and welcome back to the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. We are absolutely blessed to have a good friend of mine, Carson Bolt, back, and what we're going to do is we're going to record a masterclass in Land Subdivision over several parts. Carson, welcome back and thank you for your time again.
No dramas, mate. Thanks for having us back on.
Now, I just want to talk about why we're recording a few extra episodes here. Now, Land Subdivision is just such a great idea, and I want to talk about Economics 101. So I go down to Woolies most days and I buy these little tiny Coke Zero bottles in small little bottles, and I pay a lot more for them than the big bottles. You can go and buy a big bottle of Coke or Coke Zero and you get it at a lot cheaper rate per 100 mils. They actually document in Woolies how much you're paying per mil.
Yep.
Land Economics 101 is exactly the same thing. You can go and buy 40 acres of rural land, and if you can subdivide it into 4 10-acre lots, in most markets, it's highly likely that you're going to get a lot higher rate per acre when you subdivide them. And that's what Carson does. That's exactly what he does. So, Carson, before we go into the podcast, have you got any new deals? You've got a lot of sites on the go, which we covered in the last podcast. Have you got any new ones that you've acquired?
Yeah, we picked up a couple. We got a 10-lot acreage subdivision we've tied up in Canunga and Scenic Rim. So I love the acreage product. We're just getting the DA together at the moment. Hopefully we'll have it lodged in the next 30 days. We've got a settlement in December. We're recording this in August at the moment, so we've got a bit of time to get it. It's not going to be approved in that time frame, but at least we'll get the majority of it through, and then we've only got to hold it for 3 or 4 months until we can roll into construction finance.
What's the dimensions of that site? Land size? How many lots are you going to get? Purchase price?
Yep. So 5 hectares, so 50,000 square metres. We'll get 10 1-acre lots essentially out of it. Purchase price 2.7, and we're looking for a gross realisation around the 9, give or take. So acreage land in that area is high demand. It's got a beautiful creek running at the back of it. Probably 5 of the lots will have nice running creek on the back of the lots, and some of the other ones will be quite nice elevated lots. So it's a bit of a funky site. It's on a busier road.
Does it make you want to dance? Or?
Yeah, it does make me dance. I do like my subdivisions, mate. So no, it's a good site, but we've got a major road, so we've got to do turn in, deceleration lanes and acceleration lanes. So it's a little bit complicated, and we've got a big acoustic fence along the front we've got to do, but council don't want an acoustic fence. We're going to build it out of dirt, like a land bund, if you like, just so it's a bit more aesthetically pleasing for people driving past instead of a massive big wall. So, little things like that you find out through pre-lodgement, which is why they're important.
Okay, so the plan at the moment, 2.7 purchase, selling for 9 million gross realisable.
Yep.
If you were to get a small blowout in costs, how much do you think maybe you should be budgeting for on all the works before you can sell those?
Civils, we've got roughly 200 a lot in there, 180 to 200, I think.
2 mil?
Yeah, give or take. Yep.
So 3 million including stamps, 2 million improvements, that's 5, and you're expecting up to 9.
Yeah.
Less some selling costs.
Yeah, selling costs and obviously council contributions and holding costs and GST and all the rest. It's that your back of the envelope's never as pretty as the real numbers, but it'll still be a good healthy project. We like to shoot for those kind of 30% margins, and it's pretty close to that. So should be
because
a nice
it's
project.
a difficult site. Other people might not want to take it on, but you have the skill set around those slopes and the civils to actually add the value. And what's even more exciting for me when I talk to you is that this is just one of multiple deals you got running at the same time. So you compound $1 million here and $1 million there, and it's going to be exciting to see how it all pans out in 3 or 4 years' time when a lot of these ones you've exited. Yeah,
no, we love it. We love, it's a great business to be in, but at the same time, I get a real kick out of getting a manky, overgrown block of lantana all over it. There's weeds. It was literally left untouched for decades. A lady's been adjusting and she's sorted some of it, but there's weeds overgrown. Once we slash it and make it look pretty, and everyone's got these nice little blocks on the back of the creek, I get quite excited just to kind of see the transformation along the way as well. I get a real kick out of that. And then, we picked up another project down in Byron, probably a bit of a riskier project for us, but we bought it really well. The vendors wanted 8. We've picked it up for 375 Inc. of GST, and we got a bit of a delayed settlement to December as well. So the first one we just mentioned, Canunga, we're actually doing that as a joint venture because we're pretty tapped out at the moment. And this one in Bangalow, down near Byron, it's a great little town. A lot of slope though, and we've got a water main, which is $1 million we have to move. And so I think those two things scared a lot of people off. Plus, Bangalow is just difficult. They like to vocalise their hatred for developers and can drag things out. But council have been pretty proactive recently, so we're a little bit more bullish. But we've got a nice plan for that. So it'd be a subdivision, some townhouses, and probably some units as well. Do a bit more of an affordable product. Because I want to de-risk the site. At least I know that if I do something more affordable, instead of going to Byron and trying to do these amazing designs like everyone does, we want to hit an affordable market where if the local market doesn't want it, we know investors will take it. And that's basing it on a minimum 4.5% gross yield. We know if we can get that, then the investors are going to be interested as well. So it just gives us extra exits, which is what we want.
Yep. Mate, Unemployable Property, you have a mentorship program. You've got a number of students there that you're assisting. Have you got any good deals to talk about? Like, this has only been going a short number of months. Have any of your students picked up any deals? Yeah,
some cracking deals. Actually creating competition for myself. One of the ones I had saved, and I just hadn't got around to ringing the agents. They end up buying it. And I've got a rule that
Did you up their fees, their monthly fees?
I've got a rule that if someone rings me before I've contacted the agent, then it's off the table for me. And if I've already contacted them, then it's fair game. So I've just said to the guys, everyone knows that. And, to their credit, they jumped on it. Like I say to all our guys, the only benefit we have to the big end of town developers is speed, so... you've just got to make offers quick because they're so clunky and they're slow. A lot of these bigger groups, they've got to have 5 board meetings before they do anything.
Agreed.
Whereas if you can do something and jump on it pretty quick, some people just want to get a deal done. Yeah. And this was one of those instances. They got a fantastic deal, and she just tied up the deal, didn't have the funds to do it, and another couple from our group funding the project for her. they're splitting the profits, and it's it's a phenomenal project. It's like sitting at 50% profit on cost.
What sort of deal, man?
So 13 lots in Logan.
Yep.
A lot of it has street frontage as well, so the civils are a lot less because the road's already there.
Yep.
And there'll be a few battle axes at the back. So it's kind of the perfect first project because the civils aren't too heavy. They're going to get a really big uplift just on getting the DA. They'll probably get almost enough to fund through the project. It's quite funny. They got it refinanced for the they got it valued for the settlement because they're not going to be quite approved, and they only got a couple $100,000 uplift. And they were like, they made the comment, it's like someone said our baby was ugly because they didn't quite get what they thought, the uplift. And they will get that uplift once it's approved, but when it's not quite approved, it's hard for anyone to justify that uplift. But it's a cracking project. It's one I wish I was doing. You might want to
tell them they get a second valuation too. Sometimes valuers can be miles apart.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We've had that. And it's a funny game, the valuation side of things, but at the end of the day, they've got to be conservative for the banks, and they're the ones that get sued if things go wrong. So there's always that balancing act, and you've almost got to interview your valuers. So like I'm just engaging one at the moment. I've said, look, these are the comps that I think. Before we engage, can you kind of give me some indication that you kind of agree with these numbers?
Good advice.
So I don't want to spend the $10,000. Yeah. Or the other thing is you can actually spend 60% of the valuation to get a draft, and you don't have to pay the other 40% unless it comes in where you think. So make sure you have that conversation, because there's no point spending the full 10 if you might burn 6, which still sucks, but it's still better than burning 10. So.
And what that advice you've just provided is so much more valuable than in the past. I've had 3 quotes for a valuation, and I've just gone with the cheapest, and it's burnt me big time just going with the cheapest valuation on some occasions where the valuation just wasn't anywhere near where I wish I had paid for the more expensive valuation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know people that have just they've even put the tenants up in a hotel room, furnished the tenancy, and because the first valuation came in really low and the second one came in like an extra 150,000 below, and that's a pretty expensive exercise to do. That's probably cost them $10,000 to do that. But they got the uplift to get into the deal that they want, and they made hundreds of thousands out of that deal. It's just, once again, when you're thinking like a developer, you got to do what you got to do to get it over the line. And whether you like it or not, the value is a human, and it's not a perfect science. No. So like it's your job to make sure you meet the valuer on site and give them, some of the comps that are probably accurate, because they're probably going to, they could potentially miss things. So it's good to get on the front foot and try and hold their hand.
Do you have another client success story that they may have just got under contract? Just one more before we get on into the podcast.
Actually, Sam that just joined us now, his first couple of deals were great little projects. He was a project manager. He's very, very switched on young man, but he still was just, lacking that confidence to kind of pull the trigger on the deal. And I think plus he wanted to use a third party investor to fund the projects. So he found a couple within our group to fund the project, and he did a little 10 townhouse project in Victoria, in Melbourne, and they got another one in regional Victoria, which is a little 5-lot subdivision. It's all got road frontage each lot, which is like the perfect first project once again, because it's just really simple civils. You're not going to have huge big blowouts. I think typically, I think in Southeast Queensland, the average per lot civils, I think Colliers did a report, don't quote me, it was like 186,000 a lot to create a new subdivision, whereas I think they're doing it for about 25 or 30,000 a lot, because it's literally just the sewer, water, power is all pretty much there, and it's just tapping into each one. It's already got, each block's got its own road frontage, and it's just a very, very simple subdivision. So that's why when people say, how much is it per lot? It's like, well, it depends. There's 30, and we've done ones where it's 250,000 because we've had to import a lot of fuel, or have a lot of retaining. So it's how long's a piece of string, I suppose. But that's a great little project as well, to just cut your teeth, learn the process, understand what all the acronyms and things that get thrown around in a lot of these groups. Like for me, that's where the learnings happen when you're actually doing your first little deal, and you don't want to overextend. Unfortunately, a lot of coaching clients will look at where we are now and try and jump straight there. It's just like, do a couple of little, even if you've got the money, do a couple of small little deals, learn the process, and then you can scale pretty quickly. Everyone tries to do what we've done in 10 years and 2 years sometimes, and that's where things can go wrong because you can get in a lot of trouble in this game as well if you buy the wrong site. So it's not something to mess around with, but if you get it right, it can be incredibly lucrative. Yeah.
What I've picked up from Carson there is particularly the big street frontage is it avoids, if you've got a skinny, long, deep block, you've got to build a road all the way down there and you've got to dig holes for all the utilities to go all the way down the back. And not only that extra cost, but it actually takes away some of the usable site down the back to actually build on. So what Carson's saying there is incredibly valuable. Let's go into part one of the Land Subdivision Masterclass with coach, developer and mentor Carson Bolt. And part one is simply, can I subdivide my land? So we're going to talk about every property being different. We've got council zoning maps, and we've got overlays. Carson, what do you look for when one of your clients comes along and says, oh, Carson, I'm looking at this subdivision site. Is this a deal or no deal? What's your process to actually go through with that client or student of yours as to whether the deal makes sense?
Yeah. What we tell people to do is, before you do anything, find out what your deal box is. What do you actually want to do? So we suggest starting with like a small little subdivision, maybe from 3 to 8 lots, because 1 and 2 is very difficult to stack up. There's just not enough margin in it. That 3 to maximum kind of 10. What you want to do is go find 10 of those that have already been done in your area and then go reverse engineer it. And by that I mean look up who the town planner was. Like here in Queensland, you've got PD Online. In New South Wales, you've got DA Tracker. You can actually, it's incredible. You can actually find all of the consultants that worked on that project. So if it's a little subdivision, find out the town planner was, the engineer should be able to put you onto who the civil contractor was, find out what things cost. And if you reverse engineer and run a FISO on those projects, if you do that 3 to 10 times, you'll get a pretty good feel of, what works, what's the minimum lot size in that area. And the best advice we ever got was go buy a town planner's time in your areas that you want to work on and basically get an understanding of what things, what areas you can subdivide, what the process is, what the time frames are, and understand what the minimum lot size is. So once our students have done all that, then you want to get a cheat sheet. So in your area you have the minimum lot sizes for each of the different zonings. So you can very quickly look at it and go, okay, it's on the Gold Coast where we're sitting at the moment, minimum lot size for low density residential is 600. We know we can do on a corner block, we can get that down to 400s. So we know that if we want to do a 3-lot subdivision, you can just put into realestate.com, looking at lots over, 1,800 square meters because I want to do a minimum 3-lot subdivision. So because I need 600s, so it's just once you know the parameters of what you're looking for, your town planner is your best friend. They're the cheapest consultant you ever buy, and they've got the key to every other consultant. If you need an acoustic specialist, a stormwater guy, they'll tell you these are all the issues that we have, and these are the 5 consultants we need to engage, and they'll have a recommendation for the most part for all of those. If you pick a good planner, and like I said, once again, hopefully you've already interviewed your 3 town planners in your deal box of what you want to do, because you've reverse engineered enough projects and sat down with enough planners, you'll get a really good idea. If you've done that exercise enough, by the end of that process, you'll know kind of roughly what the minimum lot size and bits and pieces. So then when you look at a site, then I use like a product like Stash for me. So I use that subscription, go on, look it up, have a look at the overlays, and then there's a little tab there where you can actually draw up a bit of a subdivision. You can scratch up 600 lots, and that's a very rough version that I can do, and then I'll take my assumptions. You got to do some work. You can't just bombard your town planner. They're trading time for money at the end of the day. So do some work, do some due diligence so they can see that you're not just a tire kicker, and then send them an email and say, look, I think I can get 4 lots out of this. Am I right? You know, and I like to work with town planners that have kind of left a bigger firm, have started their own little business. They're hungry for customers and growing their business, and you're not just a number, and they're going to give you good customer service. That's why I want to shop around as well and just find someone that is happy to help.
It's so interesting learning. I mean, there are a lot of sites, even on the Gold Coast, that are in a zoning area that permits subdevelopment, but just because you can subdivide doesn't mean you should or that it makes sense. And I remember my town planner that I first used for a development site said, Andrew, I want to buy a subdivision site. And as an agent, I had a house in Johnson Street, Southport. I said, come and have a look at this one. Maybe this one will suit you. And we had a look at it, and I had never even thought about these issues or constraints of a site. It was zoned appropriately for a duplex. But when we went through there was a bus stop on the footpath. And there was a big tree. And at the end of the day, he said, yes, well, you can subdivide this if you just use the one existing driveway. But for him, he really wanted to have, it was a wide street frontage, and he was really only interested in if he could have 2 driveways, 2 separate addresses with 2 post boxes, because that's what attracted the premium price for 2 blocks instead of having one right down the back. So I'd never thought about that. Oh, yeah, there is a bus stop there. And I said, well, what's the process to move it? He said, oh, well, you can actually negotiate with council to move it, but good luck if you tell them, oh, can you move this bus stop to next door, because next door has to agree with it. And then there's the cost involved with moving the bus stop. And as a novice, even as a novice real estate agent 15 years ago, I just never even thought of those constraints.
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it. I mean, another one is just the slope away from the road, just stormwater. You have to get permission if it falls away from the road to get stormwater out through the neighbouring properties, or you've got to come up with another solution there. So that's why a lot of the blocks falling to the road is a lot better. Poo doesn't go uphill either. So if you're doing multiple projects, you might need, multiple lots or even dwellings. You're going to have a pump to get it back up to the road if it falls away from the road. Little things like that. From a planning perspective, it works, but from an engineering perspective, it doesn't. So there's a lot of little things that, easements and sewer that runs through the site and little things. Once again, my very first subdivision that we did, thankfully I had, just started hanging out with Shannon at that point, and I said, look, this is already approved. What do you think? And he's like, that power line's going to be a problem. I was like, it's already DA approved. He's like, doesn't matter. Like, it was just hanging too low, and it cost us like 30 grand to get it, put another pole in to tighten the lines up, because we went to Energex and said, hey, your lines are too low. They're like, no, because for the whole, at the moment, it's only one lot, and in between those 2 poles, the sag is at the appropriate height. Just because it's too low here, if you want to create a new dwelling and put a driveway, that's your problem now. You pay for it. And they've got you by the short and curlies, because they're the only ones that can do it. So whatever the price is that they come up with, that's it, because no private contractor can work on it. So
yeah, so part of the reason why I've got Carson on this podcast is he can just add so much value to people if you're looking for a mentor. And even just then, I got frustrated listening to him just then, because I paid for a subdivision, a survey, a surveyor to go out and do a subdivision plan at a site in Ipswich, spent all the money, and then went after that to ask the neighbour if I could connect to his sewer because it went down, and the answer was just no. And I just wasted all my money. But if I had someone like Carson to look at that, he probably would have said, well, before you go pay the surveyor, make sure you can connect the sewer. Even after that event, maybe, I don't know if you can remember this, Carson, but maybe 6 months ago, I rang you, hitting you up to do a joint venture with me, and it was a site that already had a development approval to subdivide a rural lot into resi, and next to it was a large industrial lot where they were going to have an unmanned diesel tank, a truck parking depot, and a landscaping area. And Carson didn't want to do that project with me for multiple reasons. One, he had too much on his plate. 2, it wasn't his niche asset class. I don't think. It was more industrial than resi. 3, the strategy wasn't his main strategy. He likes, up till now, he's liked to sell the end projects, put the money in the bank and move on, whereas I like to buy and hold. So our values weren't aligned there, so he didn't want to be involved with me. And I didn't go ahead with that that investment after talking, even though I didn't employ Carson for a consultant for 18 months. The fact that I wanted him as my joint venture partner, I hit him up. And the reason I walked away was none of those three issues. It was because he said, "Oh, Andrew, I grew up in a regional area, and I think the gross rent that you're anticipating on this hard stand in that area, there's a big question mark on whether you can achieve that." And we talk about not being a pioneer in real estate, and Carson just mentioned before you want to see some other developments that have been successful. And he sort of said, "Well, Andrew, are there any other industrial sites in that town where you're getting that amount of rent per square metre for hard stand?" And I said, "Well, no, it's the first one." And getting that advice from Carson, I walked away from the project, thank God. Now, it may well have turned out all right, we don't know, but it's the deals you walk away from maybe that can make such a big difference.
Yeah, 100%. Like I spend 95% of my time crushing our coaching clients' dreams where they think they found a good project.
I was shattered too. Like, bloody Carson's ruined my dreams.
But you're going to lose a lot of money in this game. And every mentor that I've paid for along the way, I've made sure every single one of them has gone bankrupt at one point in time, because I don't want someone that's just had blue skies. I want to learn from their lessons, so I don't have to go through the pain of learning them, So I love, learning from other people's mistakes. And, I think a lot of projects, people get blue sky, they start thinking about the numbers. I think one of the easiest things for me is actually to take all the emotion out of it. But I find a lot of people, they'll talk to one agent and they'll get a number and they're like, well, okay, the agent said I'm going to get 650. I had a coaching client recently that just pulled out of one. And I was like, that block, that's all the money and some. Like you think you're going to get 650,000 for that block? I said, I think you're about 150 grand overs. I said, I cannot see comps, or there might be like one block that's an outlier. And just because the guy waited 18 months to get that price, you can't use that as a comparable. You're going to wait 18 months and you've got 6 blocks to sell. You'll be there for a decade trying to move through this stuff. Yeah. So you've got to think a little bit longer about, it's not just what are you going to get. It's like, what's the sales rate of these things? Because if you've got 10 or if you've got 20 and you're only selling one every 4 months, it's the interest will eat you alive. So, yeah.
Carson, you mentioned before that a lot of the times the 1 into 2s don't pencil out. But if we can just spend the next little section here talking about the smaller sites, because a lot of people might want to, learn through that process by not spending too much on a site. So let's just talk about a small site where there's a house on it, and the options are multiple. You can just renovate that house and subdivide and maybe, sell the land at the back.
Yep.
You can renovate the house, subdivide and build a new dwelling on the back. Or you can demolish the house, just sell the 2 or 3 lots. Or you can demolish the house and sell one of the blocks or 2 of the blocks to come up with enough cash to actually just end up with a brand new house for yourself. So have you gone, imagine that with your students already in the last 6 or 12 months, you've looked at several of these scenarios.
Yeah.
What's your process there for working out? And I guess it depends on the person's individual ability to raise capital as well.
And it's also what they're trying to achieve, like what's their balance sheet. If you came to me with that scenario and said, hey, Carson, what do you think? Is like, don't even book in a call until you've done 4 FISOs on every single scenario, 5 FISOs. Like I want to see every single scenario.
Yep.
And then what are we trying to achieve? Like what are you, and then it's zooming out, what are your actual goals here? Because for everyone it's different. Some people can be doing $10 million to $10 million deals. Some people should only be doing $200,000 deals, so that's probably the starting point. And then it's like, okay, what do we want to do here? Once again, you want to hold. So it might make sense for you to sell down the existing house and one of the lots and, keep a block at the back and build a duplex on it, or build a rooming house. Why build a house and get 4 or 5% gross yield when you can build a rooming house that's a little bit more expensive and then get basically double the yield?
Yep.
So that's why we have people like Kevin Dooney and stuff on our podcast because we want people to think outside the box, not just do the status quo of what everyone else is doing.
Yep.
So once again, it's just going through the different scenarios and work out, what's actually. I'm very unemotional about it. So it's like, what does the FISO say? It's not all about which one makes the most profit, because we've had other scenarios where we've actually changed the DA for 22 townhouses and turn it into 14 lots. We actually made it less yield, but the margin was better. The actual end number was lower, but the risk was significantly less because we didn't have, a $8 million, $10 million, construction budget, and there's just so much more risk involved with the built form and escalations and bits and pieces. So you've got to factor in what your risk profile is as well. So it's just a process of elimination, and you go through all the different scenarios, and sometimes the FISOs tell you pretty quickly which one you do. It's not until you actually do that exercise then the student will come back and go, actually, I've already got rid of 3 scenarios. It's just these 2 we want to talk about now. So yeah.
In those really basic form feasibilities, when you do have an existing house there, sometimes it might be right in the middle of a lot and it just doesn't allow you to use the land to subdivide. So how much does it actually cost, in your experience, to move that house? I mean, some people will actually pick it up on a big truck and go and just sell it. Others will demolish it. Others will actually move it to the front side to allow a 4-metre driveway on the side. And the costs of reconnecting the water and the sewer. Have you got any really basic numbers just for a little house? I know there are no concrete numbers, but
I think you can slide a house. Don't quote me on these numbers because I've had some quotes. I've never actually relocated a house. I've sold plenty of houses, and I've been paid $35,000 for someone to pick up and take a house away, and then they'll do the site clean as well, as opposed to paying $40,000 for the demo, and then it's actually money in your pocket. So if you've got an old Queenslander, you can actually make some money. So there's something to think about. You might have it as a line item to demo it, and it could actually be something that you make money on. But to slide it and to reconnect it, it's probably 70, 80 grand still.
Still a lot of money.
Yeah, because it's the stumps to re-stump the house, because you can only slide obviously the old Queenslanders to put all the stumps in, hook it up into services. The contractors are not cheap. That could be a bit overkill, but I wouldn't be, if I was doing a rough fees, I'd probably plug something in like that and then go get some quotes. So,
and when you do, if someone does that, Carson, is it fair to say that the certifier for a new dwelling at the front, if you knock down a house, you have to completely do all the utilities again, or is there any value in existing water connections, or the certifier won't let you use 20-year-old?
Like a lot of the old systems you can tap into, so you might need to do the connections. Even if you're doing a new connection on the same line, they're not that expensive really. Okay. So yes, you might have to do a little upgrade every time you do. That's the other thing with a house. You got to come up to the new code. So when you slide it, all your electrical and all that kind of stuff. Right. So that's the things.
Gotcha.
It's the same as when you're doing strata titling for units. You might have 6 units in a complex that have been there forever. As soon as you go to strata title it, now you got to comply with all the new fire rating and all the new electrical stuff, and they're the things that people always miss. But in that scenario that you gave, pretty much when you're doing small subdivisions, in most scenarios you're gonna want to, unless you're doing like high end houses in a really good suburb, you're gonna want to keep that house, even though it might be a bit of an eyesore. Just tidy up. We don't renovate inside typically. We just make the outside look good so it looks like it belongs in the estate. Because if I'm buying that block, I don't want to see this, clapped out old house and you don't know what someone's going to do. So we try and tidy up, do a bit of gardens. Yeah. But too many people watch the block and think they're going to make squeens on a renovation. So we just don't renovate the inside unless it's really warrants it, and then, sell the rest of it off.
Carson, talking about connecting utilities, you've done quite a few deals, and I've seen on social media some examples of developers where they've gotten all these approvals, and when they go to connect the utilities, the actual council mains is not where that's supposed to be or where it says it is on the council maps. And as I understand it, you've got to have a certain amount of fall to go down to some of these connections. And if it's not where it's supposed to be, that can create massive extra costs. Have you seen any of that in real life?
Yeah, you can't trust the plans that council have. So you can do a dial before you dig, and the sewer line says it's here. Like if you're, especially if it's say, your block slopes around, you might have a stormwater pit or a sewer pit in the back. As part of your due diligence, go get a vac truck, pothole it, so they actually get a vac truck and suck, and you actually go down and then you survey and pick it up, make sure it's actually there. Because a lot of the time so it might be a few $1,000 exercise, but yeah, your surveyor and the vac truck guys, and you actually, check that it's all there. And you need to do that homework, because I've had one recently in Tweed where we had we thought the sewer line was running in the road verge, and it was in the middle of the road. So we can still, drill and tap into it, but we were sitting there cutting all these lines trying to find this sewer line, and it wasn't there. So you definitely want to do that for your detailed design. Sometimes it's fine; it just might be a few extra dollars. But if your development's contingent on those services being in there, especially if it's on the back of the block or running through the block, you still want to just pick it up as part of your due diligence, because there's been some horror stories, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I've had it. I know another educator, one of his deals that he had, it was actually, they looked at the plans, and they were like, okay, the sewer line's deep enough for just to grade the sewer into it. They didn't actually pick it up, and when they went to do the approval, when they did vac it, it wasn't as deep as they thought. So it's a massive expense to kind of relocate and drop those sewer lines in, and sometimes you can't even make that work. So unfortunately for them, it actually they lost a lot of money on that project. So it's definitely one of those things you want to tick off as part of your DD. Yeah.
Okay, Carson. So just coming into some rapid fire questions. Do you always prefer corner lots where you might get two separate addresses to rear subdivisions?
For a small project, yeah. Like the problem is, so does everyone else. So it's one of those things. And you pay more for it. Yeah. So your flat corner block, every man and his dog wants to do it. You're competing with builders, and they can make a margin on the build as well. So your multi-titled lots and your corner blocks, that's like the easiest part of development. So typically there's going to be a lot of competition there. So yeah, fantastic. If you can get one for the right price. My second project I ever did was a corner block in Benoa, houses to one side, and got an approval for a second dwelling on the other side. Like they're just no-brainers. Nice, easy. It's a good way to cut your teeth. Yep. It's just whether they make money or not.
What's the number one red flag or things that people should look out for to stop them getting a site that actually makes sense, not just getting approval to subdivide, but actually make money?
Once again, running a detailed feasibility and getting someone to look over it. If you're not getting a mentorship, just find another developer and pay them for their time, or get a builder or get a civil contractor to look over it before you go unconditional. Just do as much due diligence as you can, because if feasibility is only as good as the numbers you're putting in at the end of the day, your feaso can look great on paper, but if all your numbers are out, then it's not going to make any money.
Okay, Carson. So in the next masterclass in land subdivision with Carson, we're going to talk about the 4 different ladders, what I call the property development value add ladder. And Carson is going to run through the different stages of a land subdivision, where at every milestone you have the option to either sell it as is or add a bit more value before you pass it on and exit the strategy. Carson, how can the viewers get in touch with you if they want some more advice about your leadership and education?
Unemployable Property. So if you just chuck that in Google or socials, you'll find us. So be there somewhere.
Mate, I've left this right till the end of the podcast, but every time I'm looking at you now, I keep seeing this little eagle on your hat, and my understanding is that you're the only person in Australia that's proudly wearing a hat like that. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Pretty brave at the moment. Yeah, I'm a tragic West Coast Eagles supporter, and it's been 5 years in the dungeon, mate, in the bottom of the ladder, but it's only up from here, so it's all good. We're tanking to get the good picks, and then we'll have a crack next year.
Good on you. Thanks, Carson. We'll be back for the second part in this masterclass real soon. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks for listening to the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. This is all about building a community of like-minded investors who can share real-life stories, experiences, and collaborate with a view to helping each other. Join us. Get in touch through the link in the show notes. I look forward to you joining me on the next episode.